Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Chris, where we're going to tackle some more topics regarding investments. Last week we talked about what you should be watching in the markets. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about what people are watching besides all the sports that are going on. Last week there was what they call a sports equinox, and I didn't know what it was until I looked it up. But if you think about it, this has probably been maybe the only time in history where we've had all of these different sports playing: baseball, football, basketball, hockey, U.S. Open. Golf is going on. Because of coronavirus, we've had all these sports going on at the same time. And so my question is, what should we be watching other than sports when it comes to the market? Or what are you watching?
Did you know that about the sports equinox?
No idea.
I've never heard of that term before. And I don't watch hockey. Except I watch the fights. I'm hoping Dave will teach us how to watch hockey without watching the fights.
All I knew was that football season had started.
Football season has started. That's a good thing. So we're going to start a new sports talk radio show, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so what are we watching? The market right now looks to be starting a correction. If you look at the NASDAQ, it's already in correction territory. At the recording of this, the S&P is knocking on the door of it. And there's a few things to watch there to say, okay, is this real, or is this a little bit of a breather for the market, and what's going to happen beyond this? And so there's this weird little term called the advanced decline line, which simply tells us how many stocks are going up versus how many stocks are coming down. And it kind of gives you the idea of how many stocks are participating in growth. When the S&P reached a new level on the September 2nd, the advanced decline line did not. That tells us that there's not a lot of strength in driving the market at the moment. Okay? You take in little nerdy bits of information like that. The idea is that you're seeing coming out on the economy, and it's now surprising to the negative. Okay? You look at the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange, as a whole, and it's been basically flat since early June. So it looks like this stock market's running out of gas, which is exactly what we've been talking about all summer. It's what we expected to see. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so now you then can look back on the real short term. It looks like it's running out of gas, and it's starting to creep backwards. What we don't want it to do is just have a puking like March.
Right.
Okay, we don't want it to fall apart. And so it's those small numbers that we're watching. Mainly, that our investment committee, and I think a lot of our clients and friends and family heard the talk with Joel and Clint last week. What we're watching the most is the dollar. If the dollar strengthens, we're going to see a lot of pullback and a lot of other growth, stocks, commodities, etc. That's the number one number that we're keeping our eye on right now is the dollar.
Okay.
Its strength or its weakness, or it's holding steady.
Yeah. Okay.
So what makes this time different? So you talked about a puke, you talked about a correction looking different than March. We've referenced 2000 a few times.
Yeah.
So if the dollar strengthens and the stock market goes down, is it the same, or is this different?
Well, there's not really an investment definition of puking.
Okay.
Okay, but a correction would be a 10% loss. A new bear market would be 20%. I don't know. We maybe have to come up with a correct.
I was going to say that
35% loss in 3 weeks is a puking. That's what we saw then. So
that'll work.
We better get off of that. Our mamas are going to call and say, "You boys clean your mouths up." So what's different this time? It's hard to say because we don't know the future.
Right.
But what we're seeing throughout the entire year is a market cycle change. And this is where I have some optimism. This is where we all have talked about this. We all are optimistic in that we're seeing a market cycle change. Just like we're seeing the business cycle and the economy roll over, we should see the market cycle roll over with it. Okay. And we talked last week, and the last couple of weeks kind of felt a little doom and gloomish.
Right.
This is where I have a lot of optimism in that as that market cycle rolls over, we're going to see new opportunities. Opportunities that have been out of favor in the last decade, like gold or other commodities, like internationals, whether it's developed markets or emerging markets, and like value stocks that's great for our clients, or excuse me, our retirees' portfolio because it produces good dividends, but they've been out of favor for the last decade. Still grow, but they didn't keep up with the growth stocks like the FANGs. So we should see those come back into favor. Also, positions like real estate, whether it's held in REITs or ETFs or something else, those should come back in favor and create new opportunities. So that's the best part about change, is the opportunities that it creates.
Okay.
You know, what we've seen the last couple of years in the market that's been frustrating is that what you get in the last tail end of a bull market is a handful of stocks outperform. And if you're not hanging under those handful of stocks, then you got a well-built portfolio, but it just kind of lags a bit. And you really need robust growth that you get as the market cycles, or as the economy cycles down and it turns back around. Then you get that real broad, robust growth. That's
Right.
when real wealth is created, is during that robust growth phase. That's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm looking forward to.
All right.
So that in football.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach Khaki Pants gets to play now. He's excited about that.
Coach Khaki playing?
Yeah, it's up there in the northern territories like Michigan, places like that. You know, the Big Ten are going to play football now.
Okay, okay.
You know, you Canadians, you can pay attention.
Canadian football,
You know, that's football.
different
We've been
rules,
playing down
right?
here in the SEC the whole time. Yeah, they do play different football in Canada.
Well, thank you for joining us for another edition of Coffee with Chris.
We're going to change
And,
the name.
I don't know what we're going to change it to, but we'll have
Your
to.
name got X'd out. You're
We
not
may
even
have to
supposed
talk
say
to
it.
Joel about that.
You gotta, yeah.
But,
Joel wants Joshua
I had
Joel.
a really good name, but
The- We could
we
take
can't do that.
suggestions
do it.
as well.
Yeah, actually, we do need some suggestions. So if you have
Suggestions.
suggestions, email us what you think that we should call this show or episode, or just email us and let us know what your thoughts are.